Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Faith Over Flesh podcast, a faith-based, spirit-led podcast where we talk about how we actively pursue our faith over our flesh. My name is Tolu, and I'm one of your hosts. And if you didn't notice and you're a regular, we have one of our hosts that's not here today, so make sure to keep praying for him. But we have a special guest, Arven.
Hey, guys. I'm Arven.
Yeah.
Woo.
Oh, yes, sir. I'm Martin.
My name's Megan. And welcome to our 6th episode on Faith Over Lust.
Yeah, this is Arven, a really good friend of mine, long-term friend.
Hey.
I'm really happy that you took the time out of your day to come here and just talk with us and just do this podcast with us.
No, yeah, it's really exciting. It's kind of nerve-wracking to be sitting here right now. I don't know why it is, but it's like to be amidst such like amazing and God-fearing people.
Oh, praise God! Stop.
thank
No, for real. I think you guys are really taking this step, to really do what a lot of kids our age are searching for. You know what I'm saying? Like looking for like fellow Christians, fellow like kids who are like adolescents, teenagers who want to spread the gospel, and it's just hard because not a lot of people, especially nowadays, can really identify with that. And to have to have such bravery to go out here and do this, especially to look out not only for just like making sure that there's people that you can reach out to that can feel like, yeah, there's people like me who are Christian who are going out there and doing God's will. And I am so proud of you guys, and I'm so grateful for you guys, really, because you're like encouraging.
Thank you.
You're encouraging people like me to. I mean, I'm a lot older than you guys, but like Paul said to Timothy, like your age doesn't matter. Like the gospel is the gospel at the end of the day, and like it doesn't matter what age you are. It's so incredible that you guys are doing this. And so
Praise
I really
God.
appreciate it.
Praise
Praise the
God.
Lord for using you guys, being conduits and doing God's will, and being obedient to that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, but as you guys know, the topic is faith over lust. But can we just talk about what lust is and like the definition of like lust, and then like on the contrary, what like the definition of love is?
Yeah.
So I have the Google definition pulled up. Thank you, Google. So can this load?
Not sponsored, by the way.
Not
You should Google.
Yes.
But,
please.
hey.
Okay, so according to Google, the definition of lust is a very strong sexual desire, but overall desire for something, right? And then for love, it's an intense feeling of deep affection, right? Now, I feel like people often get confused with the difference between these two, and I don't blame them. It's like people always abuse the definition of love, right?
Right.
So like that's just like the basic definition of what it is. But so can you just like talk about like why lust is like a negative thing, and like why it's bad?
So I want to kind of touch on something, not like necessarily like why it's bad, but I wanted to bring the perspective of, I think the reason why a lot of us in like our generation and our world, the reason why we get the definition of love and lust mixed up is because we have different definitions. As Christians, we look at the definition of love in the Bible, and people who look at the definition of love probably are searching for it through other things that can give us that temporary feeling of love, or we're searching it online. So our definitions are coming from two different places. So I feel like that's why also we see love, the true meaning of love, but then other people who are out in the world, like they see it as lust and they confuse it for lust instead of love.
Right. And to add on to that, I think where lust can sometimes originate is from your own heart.
Yeah.
Right. And so the thing is, everybody has a God-shaped hole in their heart. And the thing is, the world tries to advertise these things that will try and fulfill that hole, and you just go after it. And I think later, Martin, you'll start to talk about like how love is long-term and how lust is short-term. And you keep going after these short-term things, and these just not enough for you. And it's just this never-ending like chase of trying to figure out why you can never get any fulfillment from these things, and just you learn to realize that you're chasing after something that only God can give. You know, you're looking for it in other places. And so turning to God and then looking to God as, you know, the only person who can give you the everlasting water to truly to truly like quench that thirst for love, you know, rather than lust is the key component of understanding like you really can't live without God, you know, like we're created in this image. So when you're created in this image, you desire to be like him, but when you desire to be like him and start looking for it in other places without you even realizing, it's just this, it just never stops of you trying to look for this thing and you just don't know what it is. You just keep going. You just realize that you're not getting anything from it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like that's the case with, like, you know, this entire generation. I mean, we're searching for the right thing, but in the entire wrong places. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like this generation's full of alcoholics, drug addicts, you know, a whole bunch
We're
of.
also young.
And it's at such a young age. We're
Right.
searching for the right thing, but we're getting in the wrong place.
Exactly.
You know, like, people are looking for fulfillment, a feeling of happiness. You know, or just like a way to have fun. You know, but we
Right.
can get every single bit of those from God, but it's like people don't understand that. Like I feel like a lot of reasons why people feel like they can't get that from God is because they see Christianity as just a big old rule book that's been outdated.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
And like that's really not the case. Like earlier in a class we were talking about how, like, you know, the law is something that we'll end up choosing to do because as we get like firmer in our faith and stronger in our faith, our desires become like God's desires, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, whoa.
God's
opposite way.
desires become our
Opposite way. Opposite
God's
way.
desires become our
Whoa.
own. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
That's
like
Psalm 37 verse 4. Look at it.
there you go. Okay. Yeah. So it's like it's not necessarily like, you know, Christianity is just like can't do this, can't do that. You can do that, but
No.
only like no.
But if you think
It's
about
more than
it,
that.
like, we're literally living by the law, whether it's the law of Christ or the law of the world. Like, you have to live by laws when you're driving on the street. You have to live by rules,
That's a
laws when
big
you're in
one.
school.
That's a
You have
big
to
one.
live by laws of the government.
And they
So
keep you
we
safe.
literally live by the
Right.
law, a certain law. But as Christians, we live by God's law, and we put that law first
Exactly.
above the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in Titus it talks about how we read it last night.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Titus
about
is
how
so good.
amazing. But like how we have to respect the government and like stuff like that. We also have to remember that God is like above all that.
Right.
Especially when it comes to like revelation, you know, like we're not gonna start putting the government before God when it
Oh yeah.
absolutely like contradicts no point in doing
Your
that.
beliefs and everything
Yeah,
like
not
that.
at all. But so can we talk about what the Bible has to say about lust?
Yeah. All right, let's get into it.
Yeah. So, 1 Corinthians 6 says, "Flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body." Right. So like this is like one of a kind, you know, like lust and like sexual sins, like there's something that like other sins, like it's like a whole different league, you know.
Oh yeah.
Like you
That's why the
shouldn't-
instructions is to run from
It's
it.
to flee.
Flee,
That is the
flee.
one sin. Mind you, God gives us a lot of directions on what sins. Like, listen, God says for what? For example, there's a lot of things God directs us to not do, like honesty, like do not have lying lips.
do you like covenant?
You know what I'm saying? Like, God also mentions like don't have any unwholesome talk. He tells you, he directs you on these things on how not to, what things you need to do, what steps you need to follow to not do these things. Right? Lust is a one sin. God tells you to get up and run. He literally tells you to run from it. You see it, go the opposite direction. Right? Because listen, you might think you might be able to get out of it once you start getting into it, but it's just like, it's honestly like this black hole, right? And as soon as you try to dip your feet into it, it takes you in entirely.
You just can't play with it.
You can't play with it, and like you can't mix these sort of things. It's like water and oil. You can't put them together because they're complete opposite things. You know what I mean?
Like, how are we told to fight the devil, but we're told to flee from sexual morality? Like, that just goes like to show the level of like how powerful it is and how powerful God is, like, for the fact that we can also beat it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's a strong force. We're
For
talking
sure.
about something that's chemically messing with your brain.
That's,
I'm
that's a
saying?
whole different story.
And
Yeah.
that's a whole like
Like Solomon, the
Different league.
wisest person ever.
Man.
How many wives he had? Like 300?
Five? Was it
Five?
five?
Whole lot of
Too
wives.
many.
Too many, more than one. But
And
it's
one's
like-
too much already.
yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah. So it's like the fact that someone that wise, right? For the Bible to say he's the wisest person ever, that has to be in that time and for the future to come, right?
Right.
So he's that wise, yet he's able to fall a victim to this trap that the devil plays. Like that just goes to show you like where you need to be at, you know.
And also think about it as this, like your body, it says in the Bible that your body is a temple of God. So by putting dirty things in it, or like entertaining bad words, bad thoughts, entertaining lust in your life,
Right.
that is going like against the
Can
temple
we-
of God.
Can we find where that is so that they know where to find that?
Where, like,
Where
That
to
your
find
body's
like
a
that our
temple.
bodies are
Oh,
temples. You know, that's really important to keep in mind, especially like as you go on each and every day. Like I know we're talking about lust, but keeping your body temple, like your body temple.
Yeah, it talks about it in 1 Corinthians 6:19. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own.
You are
Your
not
body's
your
a
own.
gift. It's a
Your
gift.
body's a gift from
So you
God.
might as well treat it right, you know?
Yeah, you gotta treat it right, and this means every day. Like we're talking about the way that you act. You know what I'm saying? These are things that are keeping your body. Your body's supposed to be consecrated. To consecrate is to keep something separate, right? And so God is asking us to. He even calls us to be set apart, and we're set apart as God's children, and we're supposed to be consecrated. And as consecrated beings, as set apart beings, we're supposed to be able to keep our temples holy, so that we can invite the Holy Spirit into our hearts, into our minds. Because if you have a clean heart, you'll learn actually that keeping stuff clean is actually a mental thing. It plays with your mental health. When things are
100%.
dirty, right, you have chaos, you have instability, all these things. You have shaky ground, right? And what do we learn? A fool that sets his foundation on the sand, it falls apart. And when you have a mind that falls apart, you just anxiety, there's depression. You'll learn that it messes with your brain, it messes with your brain chemically and everything, that sort of thing. And you learn that when you keep things clean, you invite good spirits. You keep yourself holy. You know what I'm saying? And that invites yourself peace. It gives you rest, so you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. You know?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, man. And then also, let me look at 2 Timothy 2:22. It says, "Flee from evil desires and youthful lust. Pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call out the Lord out of a pure heart." Right. So I guess like another verse saying like, "Hey, don't like engage in this, run from it." Right. But the fact that it also says like youth, right? You can't, like, not only adults struggle with, you know, sexual morality and lust, right? Like, it's something that's, like, the amount of people that I've talked to that, like, you know, struggle with lust, like, that are around our age,
It's a
like,
wide
it's insane.
range.
It's insane. Like,
Yeah.
and it's, people don't understand how much of a problem it is until they try to get away from it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like we're trying to also be ashamed of it, like in our generation, like it's normalized, but like in Christianity, I feel as if like lust and like sex and all this stuff is seen as like a taboo and like something that we don't ever talk about. Like to like this month alone, I've heard the most sermons on lust and sexual morality than I've heard in my entire lifetime, you know.
Really?
And it was 2 sermons. Like,
Wow.
like that, like I
Wow.
never hear any
That's
pastors
crazy.
talk about it. And
Yeah.
let me pull up some statistics because I was doing a little bit of research. More than half of pastors struggle with sexual immortality. Let me pull up some other statistics.
That's
this is something that you don't want to play with. 64% of Christian men and 15% of Christian women be porn monthly, and then men between the ages of 18 and 30, 79% of them view porn monthly.
It's crazy.
79. That's 80.
79.
That's basically 80. That's monthly. We're talking about Christians here.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's never talked about, like that, something needs to be done. Like something really has to be done.
No, for real. I mean, that's a statistic that's right in front of your face.
I know, and
You know what I mean?
we can't just keep pushing it aside. Like we need to.
And at
step
the
up
rapid
and do
pace at which this sort of thing is like it's growing, you can't just set it aside for another day.
something. Like imagine we're back in like like David's time, where like you actually have to go out and like see like put yourself in that situation. Now we can like go on our phone. We can see
It's
more
become
naked
easy
bodies
for
in
Tap
like
of a
5
finger.
minutes than you can like someone back then would see in their entire life.
It's her entire lifetime.
Entire lifetime.
Can you
Even also,
believe
like,
that?
Just like social media platforms are becoming like just like
So no.
Overly
like,
sexual.
yes,
Yeah.
like even like recently, I don't know what this glitch is with Instagram, but like I would
Oh
I
my
would
God.
open that app
I hope none
and
of
I
you
would
guys
just
had
see
to experience
crazy things. It's like actually
Wow.
insane. Like
Oh
what
my
our
God.
generation has to
Deliverance
like,
is needed.
And you know what's kind
like
of
look at
sad?
and stuff.
It's almost expected now for you to experience something sexual.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, somebody will come up to you and be like, yo, you still got it?
Why aren't you doing
Like, bro, like, come on, let's,
no.
like, that's not good. We gotta get you out there.
Can you normalize
Like,
the right
no, you gotta
things?
get me in my Bible, boy.
Mm.
Like,
Amen.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, you're considered an outcast now if you're not a virgin. You're considered somebody you're ostracized because you haven't experienced anything sexual. You haven't lived until you've experienced something sexual.
Quite
You
the
know what I mean?
contrary. But we also have to realize that, let's say, like if you are in a spot where you've like, where you feel like you're stuck to like the chains of like lust and sexual morality, like not only is it like a chemical battle, but like it's like a battle against yourself,
Sure.
and you're gonna need a game plan of like how you're gonna attack it. You know,
Exactly.
you need to figure out like what am I doing wrong and what can I do to fix it. You know, because it's like, sometimes you like you'll be put on you and you won't even realize it until like you get older, like you're doing something wrong, right? You know, and it's like, okay, let's say it happens to you, like
Yeah.
how are you gonna get out of this? You know, because you can't just sit there and just live in your sin comfortably. You know,
Right.
like that just doesn't work. But you know, you just have to like figure out a game plan, figure out how to like persevere through it. I want to read James 1:12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trials, because having stood the test, the person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him, you know? So it's like, just remember that as like encouragement, you know, just keep striving and keep like, actually don't fight, run from it. But like, just
Flight.
like, just get your battle plan down and just figure out what you need to do and how you're going to do it.
I have something to add to that, or did you have?
Oh yeah, I was also gonna add that I feel like people put like lust in a box sometimes,
Mm.
and they feel like they only focus on like the sexual part of lust. But there's like
Yeah.
more to lust than just like someone lusting over another person. Like people lust over like money, fame. Like people lust over like anything nowadays because like
Right.
it's like creating idols above God. Like that's just like
That
what
is
our
what it is.
generation
Lust
is
doesn't have
like
to be
used to.
sexual.
Like it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be sexual, and I feel like that's not really talked about a lot. And I feel like they put when it lust is talked about, it's more so the sexual part, and it makes any other form of lust seem like
but
less
less of,
of what less or what's the word, like it makes it seem like it's not as bad
It's not as
as
significant.
exactly not as
Yeah.
significant as like lusting over someone or like
Yeah.
having sex or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And also like back to like how people can like change the definitions, right? Lust is seen as a desire, love is seen as a passion, right?
Mm.
You see how those words are really, really like close, almost interchangeable, right?
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
switch those words and you won't even see a difference between like love and lust, like when you look at the root definition of it, right?
Right.
So you have to like just realize that like you have to get in your word so that you can have like that discernment to be able to differentiate
And-
between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll kind of like moving past lust a little bit and more into love. I wanted to share with you guys what like the biblical definition of love, what love is, and it's found in 1 Corinthians 13, and I'll just read the whole thing. It's 13 verses, but it's very important.
This is incredible.
It starts with, if I could speak all the languages of the earth and angels, but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. So even just like the start of it, it's saying that love is important.
Oh yeah.
And then it continues with, if I had the gift of prophecy, and if I understood all of God's secret plans and possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith that I could move mountains, but didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I have to the poor and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. But if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. And this is where it starts to talk about like what love is. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Prophecy and speaking in unknown languages and special knowledge will become useless, but love will last forever.
Forever.
Eternal.
Before I continue, I mean, even when I was reading this before and like I didn't really like pick up on it until I read it again, the fact that love will last forever. Even God's love for us, that's why I feel like God is love, because he is eternal, he is forever. So just when you have love for other people, it lasts forever. Instead, where lust is more like a temporary thing.
Right.
Continuing at verse 9, it says, now our knowledge is partial and incomplete, and even the gift of prophecy reveals only part of the whole picture. But when the time of perfection comes, these partial things will become useless. When I was a child, I spoke and thought and reasoned as a child. But when I grew up, I put away childish things. Now we see perfectly, like puzzling reflections in a mirror. But then we will see everything with perfect clarity. All that I know now is partial and incomplete. But then I will know everything completely, just as God now knows me completely. 3 things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love.
Greatest of these is love.
To add on to where you said love is eternal, right? So the son of David, Ammon, right? This is after he raped his sister, right? After he was in love with her for many years. I'm reading from 2 Samuel 13:15. Then Ammon hated her with intense hatred. In fact, he hated her more than he had loved her. Ammon said to her, get up and get out. This is directly after he raped her, right? Like right after. Like, I kid you not, like like a few words up, right? And that just goes to show how quick lust dies, you know?
Wow.
Because if that was love, he would have stayed and loved her, like, even more.
Okay,
if
even
not,
if he
right?
loved her, I don't think he should have raped her too.
It wasn't love.
Yes.
It wasn't
Right.
love.
Wow.
So that just goes to show
That's
how
Yeah.
and like lust is really short term. And also, he was supposed to be king after, right? But after he raped his sister, right, that privilege was taken away from him, right?
Wow.
Lust can ruin your life. Lust can even his sister, right? She like yeah, like being a virgin at that time was like seen as something that was like sacred. You know, it still is, right?
Right.
And it's like you're supposed to share that with like your husband and like all that stuff, right? But the fact that like her brother took that, like she didn't end up getting married, she didn't get like a whole bunch of stuff that she was supposed to get, right? That ruined both of their lives, right?
There's consequences to
Consequences.
You know what I love, and I feel like I thought that's the direction you were going in, but you kind of touched on it. You see how lust, he said, was short term, not only affects you, but it affects the people around you. See how lust drove him to go affect somebody else's life. That was his sister.
His sister.
He affected his sister, and that goes to show what lust drives you to do, and it changes your character entirely. You know, you start doing things you never thought you'd end up doing, and that's what lust drives you to do. And you see lust nowadays, like you'll see it just goes like with this, like it affects you, but now we're talking about women who have to fear for their lives because men are lusting after men. Women have to fear for their lives because men lust after them, and it's the lengths and the measures that men will go to.
Like in this story, he had to fake sick and lie and do all this stuff just to get alone with his sister. Like,
You know,
the lengths that you will go, man.
the lengths that people will go, that lust will take you, not only changing the way you think, but affecting how somebody else is gonna be. You know.
It's very true.
Yeah.
And one thing about lust, though, you have to, like, if you're gonna be in the wrong place at the wrong time, at least guard your eyes. Like the story of David when he sees what's her name,
Bathsheba?
yeah,
Or is it different?
Bathsheba.
Bathsheba.
Yeah, he was supposed to be off at war talking with the rest of the kings and like the people, like of like high power about what they're gonna do about the war. But he decided to stay back because he was winning, and then boom, that's when he went to the rooftop and then like saw Bathsheba showering, right? But you see, if he actually did what he was supposed to do, go out to the war and do all this stuff, she would have still been with her husband. The husband would have been killed in war. Like so many things would have been avoided, and like, and that also that sin also set place for the heart placement of his son, too. So it's like you have to realize, like, you just have to be smart, and also guard your eyes too, because if he was never even like okay, you see someone trying, okay, turn away, but like he was like he looked like he was
Intentionally.
looking like
And you know what it also sounds like when there's lust, there's also a sense of pride. There's a sense of pride because the way that you see what you said with David knew that he was winning.
Yeah.
So he didn't even bother going. So he went ahead and just stared at the women, which goes to show you when you're dealing with lust, you need to be humble. You need to go before God and be like, I am not good enough. I fall short, and if you go into this thing thinking like, oh, it's all gonna be okay, then that's where the problem is. You thinking it's gonna be okay, like I can get away with this. When as soon as you start thinking like, oh, God will forgive me, that's a sense of pride, knowing that, oh, God will forgive me, like it's okay. I can do it one more time. God will forgive me. God is a forgiving God, unconditional forgiver, And so it's just like you have to humiliate yourself to understand that that's just not the way it works.
And even going back to what you said about pride, we look about Samson and Delilah, right? If he was never put in like a proud place, right, or like his heart posture, where like, oh yeah, like I'm like strong, this, that, and the third. Oh, like I can go there and like I can like do all this, that, and the third, right? I think I personally like believe, right? Not like in the scripture, but like I feel like he would have never been put in the position where like his hair would have been cut off or anything like that.
If he was never prideful.
That's what I feel.
Yeah.
And also, I have one thing to add. People tend to believe that lust, only men can struggle with lust. That's not the case. That's not the case. The same way that women can sin, the same way women can have like lustful desires,
Yeah.
And I want to talk about modesty for a little bit. Same thing with modesty, right? Modesty is important in men too, and like it took me like I just learned that just recently, right? Because like women, like like I just said, like they still struggle with lust, right? So but just because like our body makeup is different doesn't mean that we can like dress however we want to dress and stuff like that. Modesty is still an important thing that men have to keep in mind and have to keep account for. I forgot where it is, but it says if you cause one person to sin, you're as bad as like the person that like did it. So it's like you have to like make sure that you dress in like a way that's not leading other people into lust.
Also, being modest with your tongue.
Oh yeah.
The things that you're saying, like, are you, is it wholesome talk? Like, are you playing into this thing that's like, it could get somewhere to that, you could get to that point? Like, are you are you giving, space, even giving room for that thing to happen? You know what I mean?
Like in James, it says
Your
like
actions.
Your mouth can't bless God and then bless yourself too. You have to pick one side.
Yeah, pick one. That's a good one.
I think also like you said, a modest like tongue, right?
Yeah.
I think you'd also have like you should think about a modest heart posture.
Modest heart posture.
Being modest before like God when you're like coming before Him and praying to Him, making sure that your heart is in the right place too.
Oh yeah.
And I was at this one church a long time ago. But about modesty, the pastor said, modesty is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less, right? And it's like, you're not supposed to start degrading yourself and
Right.
things of that nature.
Right.
And like that's not modesty, right?
No.
Because at the end of the day, you're being rude to God. God took his time to mend and make you
Take
the
his
way you
time,
are, you know. Like the most intimate part of creation was when he made us with his own hands. He spoke
Exactly.
everything out, but he made us, you know.
Mm,
So
wow.
it's like it's like the act of humbling yourself and not ridiculing yourself and saying, "Oh, I can't do this, that, and the third." Like no, like God
Yeah.
gave you the ability to do it, but like like you know what I'm saying, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to love real quick, and you know, in First Corinthians, you mind if I borrow your Bible real quick? So, you know how we talked about, you know, God is love, and without God there is no love.
Yeah.
And so with First Corinthians, I think something that was so powerful that we had one time in Bible study. It was Sabbath school, and I think it was Miss Jackie or whoever it was, and and they said, what would happen if you had replaced love with God, right?
Oh yeah.
So you say, God is patient, God is kind, God does not envy, God does not boast, God is not proud, God does not dishonor others, God is not self-seeking, God is not easily angered, God keeps no records of wrongs, God is forgiving, we know that. God does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. God always protects, God always trusts, God always hopes, God always
I
perseveres.
love that.
And when you accept God into your heart, then those loves, those different kinds of those things that love makes up, then become your own, because you've then delighted yourself in God. So whatever is in God then becomes in you, right? And the thing about God never changes, right? Which means love never changes. Love is everlasting. Lust is short term, which means it changes, right? We learned that God is our foundation. When we build our foundation on God, it never shakes. It stays still. It's everlasting, which means it cannot be changed. When you think about lust is like you're building your foundation on sand. As soon as something comes by, as soon as the wind blows, it gets knocked over. When God's love is eternal, nothing ever changes about that. God remains the same. God is still the everlasting, unconditional, loving, merciful, graceful God. And when you build your foundation on Him, that love then becomes your own. And then you will also allow for others to set their foundation on you, because you have Christ in your heart. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry, real quick, I don't know if you want to cut this out. I'm sorry. Martin, you said modesty is thinking of yourself less, or not?
No,
thinking of yourself
humility.
less? But you said modesty.
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oops.
You also said sexual immortality.
Yeah.
Immortality.
No, I did.
Lust
You can
forever.
hear when we edit it. You'll hear me say immortality.
What the heck? Sorry. Okay.
But I wanted to add about replacing the word love with God. Also challenge yourself to replace the word with your name, yourself, so that you can push yourself to also exhibit
Motivation.
true
Yeah.
traits of what love is.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, it's just like you're manifesting Christ's character into your own. And I think that's just what really Christ wants to do. He just wants to be in your life. He wants to, and you know what else? Oh my gosh, God is a gentleman. God is such a gentleman. Oh my, like he knocks at your door. What do we know that Satan does? He sneaks in. He goes through your window. He's not a gentleman. He wants to wreck your life. And let me tell you one thing. Satan's not gonna do that to people who he knows they love God. Satan only comes after the people who knows he will challenge them. You know what I'm saying? And
Like
always,
Job.
like Job. And with Job, what I appreciate so much about Job and his love for God, and how much he made loving God practical. You know what I'm saying? He applied it to every condition in his life, no matter if it was a super high or super really low. You know what I'm saying? At the end, when he's questioning God and God speaks to him, he says, the Lord gives and the Lord taketh away. blessed be the name of the Lord.
Mm.
Which means in the hard times and the good times, even when you're lusting, you know what I'm saying? Give God glory, not for the lust. No, not for the lust, but for the challenge. Because it's developing your character. And God, God truly loves you when he allows you to be challenged, gives you the tool to get out of that challenge and build your character. Because God has a purpose for you, and God finds value in all his children. You know what I'm saying? And I can't imagine what other person would, or who else would go to those measures to really build you up and make you a better person, not for the sake of himself, but for you and for your own good, for your own well-being, and also for the well-being of others. Because when God impacts you, it's not just for you. You can't. The thing is about that love, you can't keep it to yourself. It's just so good. You can't help but feel like bringing it to other people. You know what I mean? It's so incredible.
So can we just talk about the differences of like lust and love, like overall, like, and like how you're able to like differentiate between the two?
It's a good one.
I can go first.
Go ahead.
So something that we talked about when we're trying to plan for this episode is the fact that love is kind of like something that like lasts a lifetime, right? But lust is something that's quick and fast. So the difference is one is fast and one is like long term.
Patient.
I would say that love is inside of principle and inside of rule when lust isn't. You know, going back to like, you know, for example, David and Delilah, he wasn't supposed to go with
Samson and Delilah.
Sorry, Samson and I'm tweaking. You know, he wasn't supposed to be with the Philistine woman. Back to David and Bathsheba, he wasn't supposed to be there, and he wasn't supposed to go with, you know, another person's wife. Go into his son, he wasn't supposed to be with his sister. You know, like if like lust is never in rule with what you're supposed to do. You know,
no,
love always is.
it's the opposite, really.
Yeah.
Megan?
You got
Oh,
anything?
I was literally gonna touch on one more and said I was literally gonna use the same example from Samson and Delilah.
Well, I think for me, the biggest thing I've learned, just like God revealing it to me, is that love is humble and lust is prideful. I think that's a really big one, and it doesn't only go for physically, but also goes for what Megan was saying, and the other forms of lust, like these desires to chase after money, these desires to chase after what else? Fame. These are things of pride, you know what I'm saying? Where versus love means it's what Jesus did. He washed his servants, his disciples' feet. It means lowering yourself before somebody else and serving them, you know what I'm saying? Versus pride is just self-centered. Love is centered around other people.
I would say that love is, sorry, let me way around. Lust is in secret, love is in public, right? And I mean that in the sense of like where, for example, going back to Ammon and his sister, right? He had to like get everyone away before he could like, you know, try and get with his sister, right? David was alone on the rooftop with, you know, when he was looking at Bathsheba, right?
Isolation.
There's this quote, I love this quote. It says, "Isolation leads to fornication." I love that quote.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but you know, like love is the exact opposite. You know, like love, like it's gonna be something that's like, you know, like public. You know, like well known. Like if you love somebody, people are gonna be able to tell that like you love that person.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it's like it's the exact opposite of what lust is. We thank everybody for listening to this podcast. If you have any questions or any comments you want to say, you know, just leave in the comments. We appreciate everybody. Like and subscribe.
Also, want to thank Arven for coming on our episode.
Yes, thank you,
Thank you so
Arven.
much.
Thank you,
Praise
Arven.
God. It was really great. I don't know. I'm like a fan, bro. I'm literally a fan. Like I got to be on the podcast. It's so great.
Amen. Yes.
But I really do appreciate you guys and for what you're doing, and I pray that God blesses you, and He's already blessed you because He's giving you the opportunity to speak about Him. And there's a lot of people who just don't have that, you know. And so this is one of those things, like, it's really all in His name. It's for, like, God's glory. And so I'm really appreciative of you guys, and not funny enough. Like, I look up to you guys. Like, you guys, no, seriously. Like, I look at you guys and I see, I don't know, it's something that I've wanted to do, but I just wasn't brave enough to do it. And so you guys are really, you know, you guys going to be a really great conduit for God's purpose. And God's going to do some amazing things with you guys because you decided to be obedient to that will. I'm telling you, like, you just, you know, the devil's going to try to, you know, steer you guys off course, but use that as motivation. You know, when the devil wants to put you down, tell that sucker that he ain't got nothing on you.
Right. James wants to consider joy when you're under trial.
Consider joy when you're under trial. You know, jump for joy because he has nothing else better to do. Like, come on.
Lucy, he's just bored.
Lucy need a dip.
Lucy's bored.
Lucy, you know, say.
All right. Thank you, Arven.
But, you also want to thank the tech crew for all the support that they've
sure.
given us, you know.
Yeah.
When it comes to the mics or just setting up everything, you know, we're really
Thank you so much.
appreciative.
Thank you so much
Appreciate
to
you.
people behind the scenes that you guys don't get to
Yes.
see. There's
Yeah.
people that are working hard
Some
for
amazing
helping us
people. Oh my
for
gosh.
with this podcast. So we thank God for you
Praise
and
the
for
Lord.
everyone else who's been
Yeah.
supporting and helping us. The people behind the scenes that are joking
Behind
and
the
making jokes.
scenes,
We just thank
making
you.
it entertaining.
And thank you so much to our viewers, our supporters, and people that are watching this, trying to
Oh,
get closer
yeah.
to Christ, and who are supporting us
Guys.
on this journey.
Yeah,
We are
for
here
real.
for you. We will continue to pray for you, and we hope that you got something from this episode.
Is there like a cool outro that you guys have that I should know?
Nah, we
we
say
say
bye.
bye.
You say bye.
So yes,
You
thank
go
you
like
for
this.
watching, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.